Hey everyone, so in this segment, we're going to be talking about whether or not you should write a college thesis. Now, in this segment, we're not going to be considering whether or not you should write a master's thesis or a PhD thesis, because in a lot of cases, at the master's level, it might actually be ingrained within the program, particularly if you're doing a research based master's degree. And of course, if you're doing a PhD, it's actually going to be a large component of the actual degree program, everything from formulating your research team as well as going through the whole PhD process, and of course, defending your thesis at the end of the program. We're going to be talking about it exclusively at the undergraduate level. There's many institutions which allow students to write a thesis at the undergraduate level, and students are wondering whether or not that's something they should actually consider and it's going to be beneficial to them and to their future. So one of the most important things to actually consider is whether or not writing a thesis is actually going to put them closer to their actual goals. And so the first thing you need to consider as an example is if somebody wants to go into a very competitive field of study, and a field of study that's probably going to require them to do a master's level program at some point, and whether or not that master's program is offered in a lot of cases as a research based master's. That the same thing can apply for a PhD program. So a lot of people who happen to be in the sciences, as an example, find that if they actually want to work in a lab, whether their background is in biology or biochemistry or in chemistry, and they want to work in a lab, that they might at some point need to do their master's or a PhD. Now, if they are going to do so, they're more than likely going to have to do some type of research at the graduate level. And so having a basis of understanding of what that process is going to look like at the undergraduate level probably isn't going to be a bad idea. Not only because it might make them more competitive for graduate programs, but because it helps them get stronger references and also might even open doors for them to work with these professors at the graduate or PhD level as well. Another thing to actually consider is the fact that a lot of cases, maybe working closely with professors might open up doors to internships or might allow them to gain insights into the industry, maybe work closely as a research assistant with a particular professor, which can offset some of the costs at the undergraduate level. Now, one of the other things to consider, in addition to that, if this isn't a route you want to go down, but you still do want to work in maybe a research based environment, is the fact that coming out of your undergraduate degree and maybe having a few publications under your belt might make you as competitive as somebody at the master's level because you've done a similar amount of research, or at least you've had some experience dabbling into the research. So, of course, this isn't going to be in all cases, and this is definitely going to depend largely on the research that you did, what institution you went to, and how extensive the research was, and what industry you're looking to get into, and what particular organization you're looking to get into. But it's a way for you to actually differentiate yourself from a lot of other students who might not have done research at all. Now, in cases where you shouldn't do your an undergraduate thesis, are probably more so going to be if you're in a very applied field of study. And so, if doing a thesis is actually going to take away from coursework that's going to be very, very critical for you in the actual job market, then perhaps it might not be the best to pursue a thesis at the undergraduate level, but to reserve that for a master's or a PhD type of program. The reason for this is, of course, like as an example, if you're in an IT related field and doing a thesis is going to prevent you from taking a lot of courses that are going to help make you more proficient in a lot of programming languages, which you know for sure you're going to need for a particular job that you're looking to target, then maybe at the undergraduate level it might not be the best thing for you to consider. Or if it is something you still want to do, then to find ways to incorporate a lot of that learning with your actual research so you kind of get the best of both worlds there. I will say that at the undergraduate level, doing a thesis might open up opportunities for funding that you might not otherwise have as well. And so maybe research grants or just grants from the supervising faculty might also be something that opens up to you as well. And also, it might give you a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more leeway in terms of the experiences that you're able to have at the undergraduate level. What I mean by this is if you're doing some field research, it might open up opportunities for you to travel internationally or domestically to do some in-field research that might also further the research that you're actually working on overall. It's also going to give you an experience that other students aren't necessarily going to have in not only interacting with faculty, but kind of working with them as in a mentorship type of capacity, which is very, very important because, again, if you're looking to go into graduate school or even just reference letters, going into graduate school or even going into the job market might be that much more important, right? And so, students who are competing for entry level positions who might not have a very strong background in internships and in in the industry, you might find that having a very strong reference letter from somebody who's a very well-known professor, who might have contacts within the field that you're looking to get into, might actually be very, very beneficial for you going forward as well. So that's kind of a general overview of two scenarios in which one, you should consider the undergraduate thesis, or one in which you might not consider the undergraduate thesis. I'd love to know your comments, questions, and concerns, or if you've actually pursued a thesis at the undergraduate level, and what your thoughts were on it, and whether or not it's something that you would do again if you could go back and pursue that experience again. So as always, thank you so much again for listening in. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed us, please give the segment a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.